Jesus has gone back to his hometown in today's story, much like those holiday movies where the family gathers and the young, mildly progressive main character goes home for the holidays. He's presenting his teachings here to the people of Nazareth, the place he was raised in, the place he was settled in for some time with Mary and Joseph and their family. I'm reminded of those special occasions where a whole family or community would come together from their various places of life, perhaps for a holiday or an occasion such as a wedding. People of different life stories, mindsets, holding their own values, coming into one room. Often in recounts of Jesus' teaching, I find he's the narratively progressive, broad-minded one in the room, really able to think outside the black and white of a situation. Focusing on a passage of teaching from Jesus in the Gospels, I think about how out of pocket he must seem in the context of his world. Teachings and retellings such as addressing feeding your loved ones on the Sabbath or healing and forgiveness of sin outside of the then traditional means. This often leads to Jesus being mocked, laughed at, dismissed, run out of town, or worse. Often even the disciples or onlookers, though meaning well, will dispute Jesus or question why he asks or says something. Thinking back to the stories in the previous chapter in Mark, Jesus asked the crowd who touched his cloak, which led the disciples to really question Jesus. I get it, that would be like me asking who touched me when I was walking through town hall. There's a lot of people in town hall. The answer is a lot of people. Naturally, the crowd in Nazareth is astonished. This is the carpenter's boy. Last time this crowd saw him, he was sanding planks and making benches. Now Jesus is showing back up and goes, "You'll never guess what I did to a pack of demons possessing a raggedy man near a tomb." The crowd wasn't having it. And we've all been there, right? At one point in our lives, a family member, an old friend, maybe a colleague who has their mind stuck in a particular box or mindset. Jesus laments their reaction to his teachings, saying prophets are not without honour, except in their hometown, and among their own kin and in their own house. In one of his songs, Keith Green expressed the incredulity of the people of Nazareth with these lyrics. Isn't that Jesus? Isn't it Joseph and Mary's son? Well, didn't he grow up right here? He played with our children. What? He must be kidding. Thinks he's a prophet, but prophets don't grow up from little boys, do they? From little boys, do they? Familiarity with a source can influence or dilate the effect that teachings can have. This can mean as we grow and develop new viewpoints external from our places of origin or long-term relationships, pre-existing notions within those relationships can lessen our ability to share our growth and learnings with those around us. Conversely, our existing relationships with others and our pre-existing notions can affect our ability to take in new and diverse viewpoints and alternate ways of thinking. I came from a quarter of a century of living in more conservative areas of Sydney into LGBTQIA plus spaces, directly meeting and hearing stories from First Nations community members, and having opportunities to meet and understand the experiences of the disabled and chronic ill communities. Having come out of conservative spaces where I objectively wasn't prepared for a critical understanding of wider, less black and white or binary ways of perceiving the experiences of others, I had to take the time to unlearn things, refresh my mind, and really mentally process the things I was learning in a way that understood the humanity of those I was meeting. Jesus concluded his time here with healing some of the attendees, but he was astonished at the unbelief of the crowd. When previously healing others in the book of Mark, surrounding groups and those being healed showed signs of awareness and belief. Yeah, the Pharisees and those in power started to notice and plot negatively in order to keep their own power, but today's story brings a different twist. Those being healed by the power of the Spirit used by Christ are unable to believe. In chapter 2, when a paralyzed person was healed, the crowd showed signs of curiosity of the data in front of their eyes, saying, "We have never seen anything like this." The crowd in Nazareth experienced the means of grace, yet presented an unbelief so profound it leads Christ to just marvel at the reality of what is happening before him. The experiences here did not deter Christ nor his disciples. I know for me, when I experience an interaction with a witness of blissful ignorance, I need to take a minute to do my own marveling, my own mental processing of the interaction I've just had. But Christ did not stop there, and neither should we. Our passage today has an epilogue of sorts, detailing a sending out of the disciples. I love these intimate, mission-defining moments within the Gospels. Verse 7 to 13 here really feel like precursors thematically to Matthew 28, after the resurrection. There, Jesus says, "All authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me. Go therefore and make disciples of all nations." Jesus and the disciples have just come from this wild experience of unbelief and disagreement in Nazareth. The disciples are warned, if any place will not welcome you, they refuse to hear you. As you leave, shake off the dust that is on your feet as a testimony against them. As followers of Christ, we are called to reflect Christ and bring others to Christ through our words, actions, and values. But that's not new information in this building. Doing it in a way that makes the world a better place can be the less harmful way to call people to Christ naturally. However, the radical nature of the work can attract undue attention, unbelief, and at times ire. We expect no wider or secular welcome or understanding from other people of the world or of faith. I look no further than the grey painting over of the beautiful rainbow steps at Pitt Street last year. As we are refused, we're to shake off the dust of that experience. For the disciples, it was the practical, literal shake-off of dust. For us, it can be a shake-off of experiences. Pitt Street Uniting repainted the beautiful, colourful, justice-declaring steps and continued their work as a safe place for members of the community. This week, and this is wildly true, I was engaged in discussion regarding gender with a senior church leader elsewhere in our city. They noted mid-discussion that they don't believe or agree in the DSM-5 for purposes of the discussion. For context, the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders 5th edition, which is recognised in Australia. This edition contains much needed nuance regarding the non-binary nature of gender and, importantly, defined differences between sex and gender, which I found is important for the discussion being had. Coming out of that discussion, I could deeply relate to the astonishment Christ felt in Nazareth. Friends, the power of the Spirit is great. We're not here to fruitlessly change unreceptive minds like lifting a box without using our arms. We're here to humbly do justice and kindness so that lives may be changed and those who are receptive may know the truth.